Welcome to this fine edition, and it is fine because it's number 140. Every time we get to like that 10th, it's a miracle that we even got that far. So the 140th edition of It's a Sports Show. I'm Scott Cray, alongside me, Ricky Williams' favorite fan, Dolphin Paul. What do you say? What's the word?
140. You know, we've been
man.
on the air a lot longer than a lot of pilots in Hollywood, baby.
This is cable access. This is the best. If you got
This is the best.
If you got the drive.
This is like college sports, pure.
But we're not going to talk college sports, are we?
No, but I'm just saying it's like
raw.
college sports.
I like
raw,
the word raw.
pure.
Like, take the steak, put it on my plate straight out of the package, raw.
And today, you know, we got a variety of topics.
Oh, yeah. We're going to actually talk about a little bit of Ricky Williams.
I fought the law, and the law won. I fought the law,
let's stop
and
it now.
the law won.
Don't quit your day job.
Little Ty Law humor there.
Ty Law, signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. But we always have to start off with Red Sox.
Baseball.
Because it's such a short season, DP. A short season.
Ding!
So here's the scoop. As at the time of taping, we haven't gained or lost any ground on the Yankees. We're still 2.5 games up. Again, we talked and reiterated this over and over again. We're in a division where it's a very, very good possibility that the wild card will not come out of the AL East. So being on top of things in that AL East is extremely important. Lost a big game to Seattle at the end of that series. A chance for Jason Varitek to be a hero by tying the game, and then missed a 7'2" Richie Sexson takes care of business in the ninth, and Seattle takes that game. A crappy Seattle team that should have never lost to them. Now they turn the tide and beat up on Oakland pretty good, just shy of shutting them out at one point through 5 innings. And now here we are. The Boston Red Sox have a home run leader in David Ortiz. His 34 home runs at the point of taping this is the major league lead. And then beyond that, on the pitching side of things, Beckett, first one to 13 wins in the major leagues. And that changes fast. So
Which is kind of ironic, because last week on the show we kind of were unsure about Beckett. And
threw him under the bus a little bit.
Beckett continues to be a roller coaster, but he got some run support yesterday. They won 7-3 at Oakland. And, Ortiz is Ortiz. Manny is popping out some home runs.
But at the same token, we cannot not throw Manny under the bus, because at this point, fresh in our minds is still the play in Seattle on the Adrian Beltre home run, in the park home run.
Not only Manny,
that was
let's
a
not
mistake.
just throw Manny.
No.
How about Coco Crisp
True.
diving over here when the ball's over there?
But at least he made an attempt for it. It was bad all the way down the line.
From the ball.
It was bad all the way down the line.
Manny hits it back, and then he points to it. Hey, Coco, there it is.
Hey, there's the ball. I just threw it back to you. It was like, what do you call that play they do, sometimes in college ball especially, where they heave it backwards continuously down the field in hopes of...
Like a shovel pass?
Yeah, it was like the shovel pass. Manny grabbed it as backup and shoveled it back to Coco.
I think he wanted to grab it with his glove nonchalantly, and,
There you go. Manny being Manny, right? We all make excuses for him, although he had some part in possibly costing them the game. Coco missed the ball, and then on top of that, when he did pick it up, kind of threw it into no man's land.
Mark Loretta had some defensive errors the other day, and if it was Manny, we would have crushed him. So,
I guess I'm just a little surprised that we're talking about the flaws of the Red Sox defense when that's been such a strong point all year. This is bad timing.
Yeah, the last few games, ironically, especially those games they lost, they had some defensive lapses, if you will. But hey, overall, long season.
Those days are counting, baby.
They're 60-38.
Right.
They're
outstanding.
They're pretty good. So at this point, you'd have to say the Red Sox have weathered the storm. Of course, the important thing coming up is a trading deadline, and it looks like not a lot's going to happen. Chicago made a trade yesterday. They're rumored to maybe pick up Alfonso Soriano, so they're going to be pretty strong.
And that's a team that the Red Sox cannot afford to see get stronger,
because
we talked about the possibility of the wild card not coming out of the AL East.
I don't know what the Sox
Chicago's
can do,
a team that can do it.
I don't know what they can do. There's not everybody's. There's a whole bunch of teams involved in the race.
Right.
We talked about Dontrell Willis, which was one of the more popular names out there. Abreu, which a lot of people aren't even sure how well he's going to do in a big city like New York or Boston.
Right.
So I'm real curious to see what, if anything, happens after this. I'm curious to see what the Sox are going to go with for the rest of the year.
Right.
And the Yankees are for that matter, just to see after we get over this period here. But, you know, the big question mark, Wells, we talked about it. I don't like counting on him, but he pitched a simulated game, which was, he pitched well.
At least he did
by
something.
all accounts.
Right.
So, got to iron out this pitching staff still. But, you know, I mean, they keep finding ways to win. And let's not forget our own A-Rod at shortstop. The guy is starting to hit.
Yeah, he has
I mean,
been. We talked about that last week. He's brought his average up. I remember when I was satisfied, I believe I said on this show, I'd be satisfied with a 230, 240 average. That was when he was hitting 225. He wasn't that far off. Now, I'm not quite sure exactly what he's hitting, but he's at least an average
he's
player.
272 change, and I think we actually have it right here. Let's take a look. 276.
No argument.
No.
Better than average.
We'll take that. We'll take that. No doubt about it. He's got 7 home runs here, but yesterday he hit once. He's got 8 home runs.
And he's not there for his power anyway. If he can just hit for average, that's perfectly fine. I don't think anybody's going to have any argument. And keep doing what he's doing on defense.
Well,
Stay healthy.
On defense.
Keep doing what he's doing on defense.
There was an article today, and I didn't get the guy's name. I think his name was Zimmerman, who kind of threw A-Rod under the bus. And again, I didn't read the article. I just heard it on the radio coming in. So, I mean, I'm not going to throw the guy under the bus because I know exactly who he is. But I'm very happy with that guy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
because we're getting what we expected. We knew that there'd be a slight decrease in that position in power, although you didn't have any last year anyway. But you're just not going to get those numbers. But defensively,
he's just a joy to watch. Most people are saying that he could be, you know, this is probably a stretch, but one of the better shortstops they've seen in years. I mean, the guy makes every play. He's fantastic in the field. So
well, now he's in the limelight in Boston. He's getting a lot more attention, and that's what happens.
No complaints there.
The good and the bad.
Yeah.
You see the play he made yesterday where he like backhanded it and just didn't have much time and just kind of like.
I didn't see yesterday because the games are too late for me.
He makes things look so smooth and so easy.
It's like a vacuum out there. Hoover. He picks everything up.
Absolutely.
He's fantastic. But at this point, you know, we got Schilling going to tonight.
Yep.
Beckett pitched pretty well yesterday, so we're just going to have to ride the storm out.
When I see that Beckett's 13-5 and is the first 13-game winner in all of Major League Baseball with some outstanding pitching out there this year, I question myself as to why I even had any part in bashing him
Well,
last
it's probably
week.
a little skewed because he's given up a ton of home runs. He's got some good run support. His ERA's not all that
The run
great.
support's a big thing.
Right, yeah, I mean, he's gotten some good run support. You know, he's been pretty good.
Which the Red Sox have done over the years. Last year, David Wells had the highest run support per pitching stint in all of Major League Baseball. His average was something, the Red Sox scored something like 6.2 runs per game or something ridiculous. So, how about, you didn't catch...
4.78, I was just looking down at the paper.
So that's a pretty high ERA.
It's a
So
pretty high ERA.
You're obviously getting some pretty darn good run support in order to balance that out.
Yeah.
Now, what I had wanted to talk about was, of course, it's a little early for you, a little late for you, I should say, because you gotta go sleepy sleep. And I understand that. The young guns, let them stay up, you know, and watch the game. No offense, of course, but
The big guns.
I don't know if even if you haven't seen the game, have you at least read about how it's such a Boston atmosphere in Oakland, and the fact that they can be so far across the country, pretty much just about the furthest you can possibly be.
Not so far. You can't go much farther.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much as far as you can get to play any team.
I think they've gotten that a lot. I mean, we talked a while back, I think it was Texas, where, you know, the Red Sox get a hit and you hear the crowd. So, obviously, they've got a big following throughout the country. I think, you know, first of all, there's a lot of transplants from the Northeast.
Right.
And I think just the whole Red Sox story of 1918 and so forth. I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of stadiums they go to, it's almost like Tampa. We know is a home game for the Sox,
Right.
But
Because of all the
I would agree
transplants.
with you. You know, out west, I'd kind of be surprised that Oakland, especially Oakland's got a pretty good history of baseball. I mean,
Right.
They've had a storied franchise with Reggie Jackson and all that.
Yeah, but
type
you
of-
know, along those lines, just the same as it's West Coast baseball. It's so different than East Coast baseball. We're Red Sox Nation. Out in California and even the Seattle team, it's kind of like an entertainment thing. It's not a diehard thing. You know, I heard earlier on the radio, and I tend to agree, there's so much to do in California that Again, it's just it's
People
same
are
thing
out
with the
at
Lakers. It's the
Starbucks.
Lakers.
They don't want to watch baseball.
Right. You see the Lakers, and you see people are coming over after their job, and they're there just to be entertained. They're chit-chatting. They're on their PDA. It's not a die-hard type situation. It's just entertainment for them.
Well, we all know that the Northeast is, I don't want to say more passionate, but, it's a different
More
lifestyle
awesome?
here. Well, it's a different lifestyle here. I don't want to say more awesome because I hate the winters, but, I mean, as far as sports and
Good.
passion
Why don't you go
goes-
move to Oakland? Go cheer for Big Papi. Or
There's
go
only
move
one-
to Miami.
You know, there's only one place I'm going to go to, baby. South.
I'm going to do what I can to deport you to Florida. Is it a deportation?
I can do
if
It's a sports show via satellite
Hey,
from South Beach.
Nowadays, fans wouldn't even know it if we're doing it from our living room. So
Listen, we got the technology to go anywhere.
absolutely. Good. So see you later. I'll contribute
But
to the
let's,
ticket.
by next week, the trade deadline ends, so we'll have more information on It's a Sports Show. We'll see what
Yep.
happens. And I don't think I wouldn't get your hopes up, but
And you know what, though? I'd be fine if they really kind of stayed where they are and didn't make too many moves.
yeah, I'd like to see
There's
them
nothing out
find
there.
a pitcher, somebody just
There's
another
nothing out there, though.
Right, and I agree with you. It depends on what they have to give up, but you never know. You never know with these situations.
Right. Last note specifically to the Red Sox, and then we'll talk about Chicago's recent trade and possibilities. The Red Sox finishing up that Seattle series. Seattle, a pretty crappy team for the most part. And we're talking all West Coast, of course. Then Oakland, better than average team, but still not all that great. And then our
Oakland
next...
took care of Boston here.
I know. Our next stop is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, who have a little pop in their lineup, but record-wise are, again, only a few games above 500. Their pitching is a little suspect.
Actually, under 500. They're 5 games under.
Oh, under 500. Okay, so
I can't get used to seeing that Los Angeles. I think it's the Dodgers.
I know. I meant to say, I was ready to say Anaheim, and I don't even know if that's proper. So, this West Coast trip, everybody's got to stay up and watch the late games, but there's some entertainment value in there, and the fact that you watch a couple of decent
I'm sorry, they're
teams.
3 games over 500.
So basically, exactly what I
I
said.
am looking at the
What's
Dodgers.
wrong with you?
My mistake.
Hello, new prescription, please.
They're 51-48, and they're only half game out of first place.
Right.
My bad. They're 7-3 the last 10.
So
I
this
apologize.
West Coast trip is, going against teams that the Red Sox should be taken care of. Maybe not so much a sweep, but we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
but we saw it just like the A's. You got to play every team.
You
That's
really
about
don't know
mine.
what's going to happen.
No.
Red Sox showed
You got to
that.
try to win the series. 2 out of 3.
Right.
3 out of 4. At least split when you go out to these.
And hope that the Yankees don't go on some kind of 14-game win streak. Which, by the way, Jen in the control room, I can't see you. I know you can see me. Yankees ain't going nowhere anytime soon, so don't worry about a thing. It's true, man. The Yankees just... Soon, when you chant Yankees suck, you can actually mean it. I was the first one to say that it bothered me when people would chant that for a great Yankees team that was better than the Red Sox at the time.
Speaking of the Yankees, you're offending my friend at Lowe's, who I went in
Oh, yeah, I heard about
yesterday
this little
to buy
celebrity status that you're
to buy
gaining.
a garden tool. Had a little project.
I didn't know
going
you
on
had
at
the
house.
gardening in you.
Well, and someone
Were you
working in the
planting
gardening
pansies?
department pulled me over and said, "Hey, I watch. It's a sports show. It's a good show." He actually gave us a compliment. Said we should talk Yankees more. And I said, "Well, we do kind of in a negative light, but."
Oh, so he's a Yankee fan.
He's a Yankee fan, absolutely. So he wants
There
to
you
hear
have it.
more Yankees. I mean, speaking of the Yankees, I know we're going to talk about Chicago.
Yep.
This A-Rod thing is kind of growing a life of its own. since
Yeah.
we can talk Yankees for some Yankee fans.
And I
out
think
there.
Red Sox Nation has not
Well-
forgot about his little pansy pat down the first base line. So any negative publicity towards A-Rod would be fabulous.
Well, I think the
publicity.
pressure's slowly building for him. A lot of
I
people
agree.
saying the Yankees should get rid of him. He doesn't hit in the clutch. I know on Sports Talk Radio, they're always talking about that. Yankee fans calling up. They're not really warming up to him. It's kind of an enigma because he's got MVP type numbers.
Right.
And he was an MVP last year, but fans will point to the playoffs and him getting hits in a clutch situation. So I don't know.
And against Boston, let's not forget that. The
I'm going to
Yankees,
make a prediction right now. I don't think A-Rod's going to end well in New York. I don't think this situation.
at the end of his contract, or you mean
No,
this
I
coming-
think this thing's going to play out before his contract.
You really think so?
I think so. I think the pressure's building for him, and Yankee fans, once they latch onto something,
Yeah.
they're tough. So now he's getting booed at home.
don't
Now
know.
it's growing. I think people are finding out about it. Some of it unfairly so, but
Because his numbers are still pretty MVP-like for the most
Yeah,
part.
but-
It's the clutch situations. Not just that, but against Boston, because let's not forget the Yankees are just as passionate as we are about our team. So when the Yankees see that A-Rod cannot perform against Boston, that's hurting him. He's just not
I mean,
doing
in a
his
way,
job.
I agree with it. The guy is like probably the best player in baseball, but I understand what some Yankee fans are saying. When you get to that situation, you got to elevate yourself and your teammates. And it's not like he's around bums. I mean, we're not talking Michael Jordan scoring 60 points against the Celtics to lose the game by 3 points. I mean, he's got a good supporting cast. So I think fans want to see a $25 million player, get those big clutch hits. And it remains to be seen whether he can handle that pressure or not. His numbers are terrific, but that's a situation that bears watching.
It's a tough place to be.
How's that?
We'll see what happens. I think that all it takes is for him to come through in the clutch, and Yankee fans will quickly forget all about him. I'd be interested in knowing Jen's little Yankee take on all this.
She probably likes A-Rod because he's so cute.
He's got frosted hair. You don't like A-Rod?
See, there we go.
Why is that?
We didn't have to go far.
Because he's a pretty boy.
Wow.
So she doesn't like the Backstreet Boys. Let me make sure I write that down. Yeah. I had to underline something before I forgot it.
There you go.
Still on this Chicago thing because it's Boston related. So anyway, A-Rod, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that pans out. I mean, I could see if...
I think it's great.
I could see if it comes down to the last week, it's a big series, and A-Rod doesn't come through, Yankee fans are going to crush him. Because, in New York, it's championships or bust. So,
but is the Yankees fans, are the Yankee fans' input enough for the boss? The boss could look at these numbers and say, you're putting up good numbers. You're contributing to wins. I don't think it's just their input.
I think it's not going to be just Yankee fans. I think it's going to be the media.
You think?
I think it's going to be articles. I think the pressure, like I said, it's like a slow cooker.
So you think it's only a matter of time where he does a flip the bird off to the crowd, and then that'll be the end of things?
Flip the bird. I mean, there's been articles.
Because he's still young.
There's been articles in the New York Post already that say he should be gone. That he's not going to make it in New York, and he's not going to be able to handle it. So,
from a Red Sox standpoint, what's your opinion on that? You think he should be gone? I mean, if you could try to put yourself in their shoes.
I think there's some validity. I'm talking like Senator Pell when he was like 85. Some validity to what they say about him in the clutch. I mean, specifically last year's playoffs. Didn't have a tremendous playoffs. And Yankee fans watch. I just listen to a lot of sports radio. I hear a lot of fans call and say, listen, when the game's on the line, his bases loaded, the guy's got terrific numbers, but very rarely does he come through. Now, whether that perception is growing beyond reality, I don't know because, I know the last time he hit a home run, I shouldn't say the last, about 3 weeks ago, he hit a home run. I forgot against who. It was a walk-off home run.
Okay.
And ESPN had a stat where they showed from 7th inning on, with bases loaded, they called it crucial situations. His batting average was under 200.
Yeah, that's not
good. So, again, we don't have the stats to prove anything right in front of us, but I just think it's an interesting situation and it bears watching.
That'd be good if it puts some pressure
We've got a Yankee fan in our own studio that doesn't like him, so...
Maybe we should convert her.
I wonder if it's a thing where they latch on to Jeter and, they don't want nobody to... Right.
Don't mess with Jeter.
It could be.
Could have been worse if they would have moved Jeter out of his position in favor of A-Rod, too.
Let's not forget the field, either. A lot of errors there, too.
Well, and because at one point in the last series, they took him out of his position and put him in the DH spot. It's not just on the field, so that's what I'm talking about. The DH spot, he went 0 for 4. So
Excuse me, that's what I'm talking about, the pressure cooker. So
one thing you haven't mentioned in all this A-Rod talk that I think is probably one of the single most important things, the dude is making more money than almost anyone else in Major League Baseball.
I did mention that. I said that they want to see a $25 million player.
Okay.
They expect A-Rod to be... Yeah, I mean, you expect some fans brought up... we have... I mean, this is probably a discussion for another show, but players who have it and can elevate their teammates and so forth. Again, it's a tough label to live up to, but again, if we have time, we'll talk about Tiger Woods at the end of the show.
Yeah.
He's a guy who,
he plays what? Hockey?
He plays hockey,
soccer?
spare time, golf. He plays
just
all
a little
sports.
golf.
Let's move on.
One more thing I wanted to mention about the A-Rod situation is interesting and kind of ironic that they're on a road trip playing Texas, A-Rod's former team. You got to wonder if in the small, tiny back of A-Rod's head, if he's thinking he should have stayed being a big fish in a little puddle instead of now he's sort of a big fish in the ocean, but it's kind of in a bad way. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm sure he's probably a little frustrated. And again, I mean, the pressure keeps building and building. I don't care if you're A-Rod or who you are. That's a lot to live up to. And as things progress, now every hit's going to be magnified, every clutch situation. I mean,
well, it's like the Red Sox shortstop last year, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but, La Russa's saying that he probably wasn't going to play very well with the media and all
Renteria.
down here. Renteria.
Had a terrible year.
Didn't take long for the media to start calling him Rent-A-Rick.
I think Yankee fans look at Big Papi and say a guy who comes through all the time in the clutch,
Right.
which, again, that's an unfair label because
there's
he's
nobody,
almost
right.
comes
There's
through.
nobody
I
in
think
the
they want to
league.
see, hey, Rod, listen, you're getting paid to be the best in the league. We want to see that from you.
Especially when New York sees Boston so
Right.
much, and you see that happen.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they're still bitter about the whole Papi in the clutch situation from last year anyway. And I'm glad it's all tense for A-Rod and the Yankees. Hey, the White Sox made what I consider a pretty big move here approaching the trading deadline of July 31st. Mike McDougal, for those of you who don't follow around the league, has been the closer the past couple of years. Young guy, I think he's only like 26 or so. 23, even young. Oh, no, that's the guy they traded for. Sorry. McDougal's been the closer for the lowly Kansas City Royals and has done a pretty good job. He had a DL stint. He hurt himself in spring training. Finally came back after the All-Star break. He's had 4 appearances, hasn't given up a single run, and got 1 save in the deal. Of course, it's the Royals. You don't expect 4 saves in 4 games because they just don't win games. Chicago White Sox have made a trade for a couple of young studs for him, and they plan on using him as a setup guy for their closer, Bobby Jenks, who's a really phenomenal closer at this point. And I think that's a great move for Chicago. A little disheartening from our standpoint to see that because, again, I've said it 3 times in this show alone, that wild card might not come out of the AL East, and you just made a wild card contender, maybe even a division winner if Detroit goes down the tank, that much stronger. The flip side of that, not just how you feel about that move, but you know, we kind of could have used a setup guy, especially if after your boy Timlin just gave up a home run to lose a game.
I'm surprised they came up with something like that. You know, I'm always in favor of pitching. Anytime you can get pitching, especially for a team who wants to go to the playoffs, I'm in favor of it. Unless you give up too much. In this case, it doesn't look like that they gave up a lot. It
Not really.
seems to be a pretty good move by all accounts.
23-year-old lefty, Lumsden, who is in Double-A, and then this guy Cortez, a 19-year-older from Single-A. So just 2 farm prospects.
You need
at that
pitching.
point.
And how happy is McDougal leaving the Royals to go to Chicago?
I'll tell you.
Oh, boy.
And take a little pressure off that save situation. I don't know if he really wanted to be in the closer role or not. I'm not sure, but
I'm sure they could use him there when the Chicago closer gets tired. So I think it's a good move. I like to see the Sox make that type of move.
That's what I'm kind of alluding to is why didn't the Sox have a little? It seemed like it was kind of effortless. You're taking a closer who has closed the past 2 years and done pretty well. He had 15 saves in a row last year at one point in the summer. So he's good. He's good at what he does. He's 29 years old. Why didn't they go for it?
Who knows?
You're taking a closer and putting him in a setup role. That's a 1-2 punch that I haven't seen since the Yankees had Gordon and then Rivera.
Maybe Theo's got other plans.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Or maybe they should have
Another
jumped
week left in the trading
They
deadline.
should have jumped on the crappy team sooner.
What do we got?
Well, did you want to talk some football? How much time do we have left there, Yankee Jen?
About
4 minutes. Plenty of time to
Yeah,
talk
real
about.
quick. Ty Law, rumored to be a contender, could have been a contender. Rumored to be going to several teams, including the Chiefs, Patriots, of course, Dolphins. I knew that the Dolphins weren't real. They were one of the teams, but
What was the scoop? Why were the Dolphins involved, but perhaps not seriously?
well, I guess because he has a home in Plantation, Florida, that type of deal. But I mean, there was no talk. I followed the Dolphins closely. There was no talk of them pursuing him. I guess the Chiefs, by what we read today in the Pro Joe, that negotiation took a long time. Of course, Ty Law started off. He had 10 to 11 interceptions last year. And he wanted some big bucks, so teams, they usually wait on a situation like that because they're not going to pay the guy. The guy's 32 years old. He was a shutdown corner.
This is his last payday, really.
Not as good as he used to be, but you know what? Going to the Chiefs, opposite Patrick Surtain, my former Dolphin boy, that makes a pretty good tandem now at cornerback, and we all know what the Chiefs' problem is.
Right.
Defense. We can't forget the Colts tearing them up in that playoff game. The Chiefs had excellent offense. That defense,
No defense at all.
terrible. So we'll see what this does at the $30 million deal. I'm surprised the Patriots didn't do something because they have a lot of money under the cap. Whether they wanted to pay the money or not,
Maybe they were looking that he was a little too old. Do you know what the length of contract was?
It's a
on that?
5-year, $30 million deal, but,
Well, we know how football is.
Well,
anyway.
he's not going to live to see that. I'm not sure what the signing.
He's not going to live to see 5 years from now.
Well, live to see the contract in football.
Ty Law, 37?
Yeah.
It's a darn shame. What do you think? Couple more years in Ty Law, and then he'll hang it up for good at that point?
Well, you never know. I mean, a couple years, yeah, depending on the contract situation. Depends how long he wants to play. Sometimes those guys will keep going. Maybe he could be a safety. I mean, people saying he could be a safety now. You never know. He could, let's face it. When these guys face their final judgment, it's, let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to get $4 million a year, but, how about $1 million a year to play safety versus signing autographs for $10,000? I mean, when push comes to shove, if you still want to play, it's still
And
pretty
more
good money at the
importantly,
end of the day.
they get to keep the game going, too. Which
Absolutely.
Is,
well, a lot of guys
we always
have
hear
a
it's the
hard
hardest
time,
thing.
Right.
The hardest
hard
thing
time
is
letting
letting
go. So Ty Law, he went to the Chiefs. I'm happy he's not on the Patriots. I mean, from my perspective, I'm surprised. I mean, the Patriots, had a lot of money. I mean, they lost a few players. They really haven't replaced a lot of them, so...
Well, I think that Patriot...
a lot of questions in Patriot land.
Well, Patriot fans know that these types of things have been done before, and it all turns out to make sense. So I think they're trusting in the boss.
I don't want to sound like a Dolphin fan, but,
you do.
There's only so many years and times that you can keep replacing good players with marginal players and expecting Bill the genius, who's a player in the women's market, by the way. Bill's a player. Got involved with some lady out in New Jersey that you obviously didn't hear that story. He's a player. So
good. Hey,
listen.
He can do whatever he wants.
The Patriots have Tom Brady. That's a saving grace. That's a duct tape that holds everything together. So,
right.
But again, Deion Branch. There's some question marks, and of course we'll talk more.
Well, the Chiefs, most importantly, the Chiefs addressed a specific position that they needed help
Carl
in.
Peterson's...
And you got a veteran guy now you're adding on to that team. That can only help.
Carl Peterson, the Chiefs GM, said there was like 50,000 hits on the website. I mean, the Chiefs haven't had a defense.
Right.
I mean, they've been porous, especially in the defensive secondary. This will sure go a long way.
50,000 hits? We're shooting for a total of 50, and we've been doing the show for a long time.
Oh, once we pick up Ty Law, who knows?
How much time we have? Probably less than a minute, which is more time
you just want to rag on
than we need
Ricky
to talk
Williams,
about
don't you?
Ricky Williams. Yeah, so Ricky Williams decides that he can try his ganja-smoking self over in the CFL, and what does he do? Fractures his foot, I believe, and that
forearm.
was his forearm.
Let's get it straight.
Oh yeah, I did read the story. He was getting tackled, and when he went to fall, he put out his hand.
Those artificial turf.
He put out his hand and broke his forearm.
It's a non-issue. He's going to be out 4 weeks.
Non-issue? Guy can't even stay healthy in the CFL.
He's not going to play Miami this year anyway. Listen, we're going straight to the bowl at home. We're not worried about Ricky Williams.
Will Ricky Williams ever play in the NFL again?
That's a very good question.
To be continued.
I say yes.
To be continued.
But in the meantime, we'll watch Sergeant Culpepper's Magical Mystery Tour in Miami.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Thanks for those emails. On the side of Dolphin Paul, I'm Scott Cray. Thanks to Mitch and Jen in the control room for running the show. We'll see them all next week, right?
We'll see you.
Let's show up.